Respect is not something that is handed out freely, nor is it something that can be begged for or demanded through words alone. It is something that is commanded through presence, actions, and unwavering self-worth. The way a person carries themselves sets the tone for how they will be treated. When someone walks into a room before they even speak a word, they have already communicated something about themselves. Their posture, their energy, the way they hold eye contact, it all sends a message. And that message tells people whether they should treat them with reverence or disregard them as an afterthought. A person who does not command respect from themselves will never receive it from others. It all starts with the way someone views themselves. If someone allows themselves to be disrespected, walked over, or treated as an afterthought, they are silently telling the world that this behavior is acceptable. And once that line is crossed, it is nearly impossible to redraw it. When someone gives too much without requiring anything in return, when they allow themselves to be taken for granted, when they prioritize others while neglecting themselves, they create an environment where they are seen as an option, not a priority. The difference between those who are treated like royalty and those who are treated as a convenience is often the level of self-respect they exhibit. This has nothing to do with arrogance, nor does it require someone to be cold or unapproachable. It is about the quiet, unshakable belief in one's own worth. People who carry themselves with a strong sense of self-worth naturally attract a higher level of treatment because they communicate, without words, that anything less is unacceptable. Respect is built in the small moments, in the little choices people make every single day. It's in the way they speak about themselves, the way they handle disrespect, the way they react when their boundaries are tested. When someone allows someone else to get away with treating them poorly once, they have set a precedent. That precedent tells the other person that it is okay to repeat that behavior. On the other hand, when someone immediately addresses disrespect, whether through action or by walking away, they make it clear that certain behaviors will not be tolerated. People who command respect do not need to chase after it. They do not need to beg for attention or validation. They do not need to prove their worth to anyone. They know who they are, they know what they deserve, and they are not afraid to lose people who cannot meet that standard. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It draws in those who recognize and appreciate true value, and it repels those who are only looking to take advantage. The way people teach others to treat them is not in the grand moments but in the small, everyday choices. If someone consistently overextends themselves without receiving the same effort in return, they are telling others that their time and energy are not valuable. If someone continues to entertain people who mistreat them, they are communicating that mistreatment is tolerable. But when someone walks away from situations that do not honor them, when they set firm boundaries and stick to them, when they carry themselves with the quiet dignity of someone who refuses to settle for less, they become someone who is respected without question. There is a fundamental truth about human nature that many people fail to understand. People only value what they must work for. The things that come too easily, the things that are always available, the things that require no effort, those things are rarely cherished. This is true in every area of life, from relationships to careers to personal growth. If something is given without effort, it is often taken for granted. This is why those who command respect are not always the ones who give the most, but the ones who know how to balance giving with receiving. They understand that their energy, time, and attention are valuable, and they do not waste them on people who do not appreciate them. People who command respect also understand the power of silence. They do not feel the need to over-explain themselves to justify their boundaries or to prove their worth. They do not beg for recognition, nor do they lower themselves in order to gain approval. They let their presence do the talking. And when they do speak, their words carry weight because they do not waste them on meaningless conversations or arguments. When they say no, it is firm. When they set a boundary, it is clear. And when they walk away, they do so without hesitation. Another key aspect of commanding respect is the ability to be comfortable with being alone. Those who are afraid of being alone often accept treatment that they do not deserve simply because they fear rejection or loneliness. But those who have built a strong foundation within themselves, those who have learned to enjoy their own company and who do not rely on external validation for their sense of worth. Those people cannot be manipulated or controlled. They do not tolerate disrespect because they do not need anyone else to complete them. They choose relationships based on mutual respect, not out of fear or desperation. The world does not reward those who shrink themselves in order to be liked. It rewards those who stand tall, who know their worth, and who refuse to settle for anything less than what they deserve. The difference between those who are treated like royalty and those who are treated as an afterthought is not luck, it is choice. It is the choice to respect oneself, to set firm boundaries, and to walk away from anything that does not align with that standard. Respect is not something that can be demanded with words. It must be embodied. It must be shown in the way someone carries themselves, in the way they react to challenges, in the way they handle difficult conversations. It is in the way they dress, the way they speak, the way they move through the world. Every action, every decision, every moment is an opportunity to set the standard for how others will treat them. The greatest power anyone can have is the power to walk away from what does not serve them. This is the ultimate test of self-respect. Can someone walk away from a situation, from a person, from an opportunity that does not honor them? Can they stand firm in their worth, even when it is difficult? Can they refuse to settle, even when they are tempted to lower their standards just to fit in or to be liked? Those who can do this are the ones who are respected. Those who cannot will always be treated as an option. In the end, people do not remember what was said. They remember how they were made to feel. Those who carry themselves with dignity, with confidence, with an unshakable sense of self-worth, those are the people who are respected, cherished, and valued. Not because they asked for it, but because they earned it through the way they live their lives. When someone establishes a strong sense of self-respect, it not only affects the way they view themselves but also how the world responds to them. People tend to treat others based on the value they place on themselves. If someone does not prioritize their own well-being, their own time, their own emotional and mental health, then others will follow that lead. The world reflects back the level of respect that a person demands not through words, but through actions. The reality is, many people make the mistake of believing that being overly accommodating, always available, and constantly seeking approval will earn them admiration. But the truth is quite the opposite. When someone places their own needs last, when they are always saying yes to everything and everyone, when they tolerate behavior that disrespects them, they are showing others that their needs do not matter. Over time, this builds a pattern where they are taken for granted, treated as an option rather than a priority. The way someone commands respect is through consistency. It is not about a one-time grand display of self-worth, but the small everyday choices that reinforce their value. It is in how they respond to someone who disrespects their boundaries. Do they address it immediately, or do they let it slide? It is in how they handle being overlooked. Do they assert themselves, or do they remain silent? It is in how they choose to spend their time. Do they give it freely to those who do not appreciate it, or do they invest it wisely? A person who commands respect does not allow others to dictate their worth. They do not let others' opinions determine how they see themselves. Instead, they establish a clear standard for how they should be treated and do not waver from it. This means walking away from situations that do not align with their values. It means refusing to accept half-hearted efforts from those around them. It means knowing that they are enough as they are, and that they do not need to prove their worth to anyone. The strongest individuals are those who can stand alone without fear. They do not need constant validation from others to feel secure. They are not afraid of being alone because they have built a strong foundation within themselves. This is a powerful position to be in because it means they are not easily manipulated, not easily controlled, and not easily swayed by those who seek to take advantage of their kindness. The way someone values themselves determines the way others value them. If they believe they are worthy of respect, they will demand it through their actions, through their decisions, through the way they carry themselves. And those who recognize true value will treat them accordingly. But if someone allows themselves to be treated as an afterthought, that is exactly what they will become. In life, people only appreciate what they must work for. This is why those who give too much, too easily, without requiring anything in return, often find themselves being treated as an option rather than a priority. The things that are easily accessible, that require no effort, that come with no expectations, these things are rarely cherished. This applies to all areas of life, from personal relationships to careers to self-growth. If someone does not set a standard for how they should be treated, others will take advantage of that gap. There is power in being selective with one's time and energy. Those who are treated with respect are often the ones who do not allow themselves to be taken for granted. They understand that their time is valuable, that their energy is precious, and they do not waste it on people who do not appreciate it. This does not mean they are cold or distant, but rather that they are intentional about where they invest themselves. People who are truly respected carry themselves with an unshakable sense of confidence. They do not need to announce their worth because it is evident in everything they do. They do not need to beg for attention because they know they are deserving of it without having to ask. They do not tolerate disrespect because they do not even entertain the thought that they are anything less than valuable. A key component of respect is knowing when to walk away. Many people struggle with this because they fear loss. They fear that if they let go of a situation or a person, they will be left with nothing. But in reality, letting go of what does not serve them creates space for something better. Those who cling to situations that diminish them, who lower their standards to keep people around, ultimately end up losing themselves in the process. Respect is not something that can be forced. It cannot be demanded through words alone. It must be earned through actions, through consistency, through unwavering self-belief. It is not about being liked by everyone, but about being valued by the right people. Those who truly respect themselves do not settle for relationships, friendships, or environments that do not align with their standards. They do not stay in places where they are only tolerated instead of celebrated. The world does not hand respect to those who do not require it. Those who shrink themselves, who allow others to take advantage of them, who make excuses for poor treatment, will always struggle to be seen as valuable. But those who stand firm in their self-worth, who set clear boundaries, who do not tolerate anything less than what they deserve, those people naturally attract respect. Respect is about energy. It is about presence. It is about the quiet confidence that says, I know my worth, and I will not accept anything less. It is in the way someone walks into a room, in the way they hold themselves, in the way they respond to challenges. It is in the decisions they make every day that reinforce their value. Those who are respected do not need to prove themselves because their actions speak louder than words. They do not chase after validation because they already know they are enough. They do not lower their standards to keep people in their lives because they understand that those who truly value them will rise to meet them. The most powerful individuals are not those who demand respect with their words, but those who command it with their presence. They set the standard, they maintain it, and they never waver. Because at the end of the day, people treat others based on how they treat themselves. The way someone is treated in life is a direct reflection of the standards they set for themselves. Those who command respect do so, not by asking for it, but by embodying it in every choice they make. They do not settle for being an option because they know their worth is far greater than that. They do not tolerate half-hearted efforts because they understand that real value is recognized, not negotiated. Respect is not about demanding attention or forcing others to treat someone well. It is about carrying oneself in a way that makes anything less than respect unacceptable. It is about knowing when to walk away from situations that do not align with one's standards. It is about valuing one's own time, energy, and presence so much that others have no choice but to do the same. True value does not beg for recognition. It stands firm, unwavering, knowing that those who truly see its worth will treat it accordingly. And those who do not, they are simply not meant to be in that space. Life rewards those who have the courage to expect more, to demand better, and to never compromise on their self-worth. Because in the end, people treat others exactly as they allow themselves to be treated.